Welcome to the show, everyone. Today we're diving into the fallout from the Epic versus Apple decision and how it's reshaping mobile gaming economics. It's really stirring up the scene for developers.
Yeah, right. We're talking fees, direct customer relationships, and the rise of web shops as a real alternative to the App Store's strict control.
Exactly. For years, developers were bound to that 30% commission structure from the App Store, that so-called 30% problem. It's been a heavy toll on profits, especially in mobile gaming, where margins are already razor thin.
Indeed. And like when Epic first stepped up, introducing direct payments in Fortnite back in 2020, it really signaled a break from the norm. Even though Apple's reaction was immediate, it was a clear wake-up call.
Yeah, absolutely. Epic's bold move, and then the ensuing legal battle, was kind of a David and Goliath moment, even if Epic wasn't exactly tiny. It opened up a broader conversation about who controls mobile game economics, the platforms or the developers.
Right on. So, what stands out to you as the most significant takeaway for the developers from this ruling?
Well, the ruling essentially let developers link out to external payment methods, which is a game changer. It means that even if you're operating on a platform like iOS, you can now build and maintain your own web shop to handle transactions.
Yeah, definitely. That direct-to-consumer model is huge because it cuts out the middleman, letting developers reclaim a larger slice of the revenue pie. Plus, it fundamentally shifts how they can interact with their audience, right?
Exactly. Think of it like this. Previously, the App Store was a walled garden, and developers had to abide by its rules, like handing over a hefty fee. But now, with these web shops, companies can directly connect with players, adjust pricing, offer bundled deals, and even keep richer customer data for improved targeting.
Right. Yeah, that's a real win. I mean, for developers, more control equals better profit margins, and ultimately a more sustainable business model. But isn't it still early days?
It is early, for sure. Apple's, still very much in charge on discoveries. Its App Store remains the primary way many gamers find new titles. But the ruling has cracked the facade, giving developers and their technology partners an opening to work around Apple's steep cut.
Absolutely. Speaking of technology partners, what about Xsola's role in all this? They seem to be really pushing this model forward for mobile game developers, right?
Yes, exactly. Xsola is now a key player, offering an infrastructure that helps studios set up these direct-to-consumer D2C web shops quickly. With white-label tools tailored to bypass traditional constraints, developers can deploy a fully branded storefront in just days.
Yeah, that's impressive. And with features like integrated fraud prevention, global tax management, and support for over 1,000 local payment methods, it sounds like they're giving studios not just a workaround, but a complete arsenal to manage transactions efficiently.
Right. It's like giving developers the keys to their own kingdom. They no longer have to be entirely at the mercy of Apple's in-app purchase ecosystem. It creates a separation between casual in-app buys and more engaged customers who might go directly to a web shop for a better price or special deals.
Yeah, exactly. That clearly sets up a two-tier economy, one where casual users stick with the familiar in-app experience, while the cash-savvy ones are directed to these more flexible web shops. But don't you think there's a risk that this might fragment the user experience?
Well, that's a fair point. The transition isn't seamless yet. Apple still imposes restrictions around these external links, so it's more like a narrow escape hatch than a full-fledged pathway. But, it's paving the way for future adjustments.
So basically, while developers are gaining more control, they still need to navigate a maze of guidelines to stay in Apple's good graces.
Exactly. It's not a free ride. There's still some regulatory and technical hoop jumping to do. And while Apple complies with the ruling on paper, it's still very much shaping the user journey within the App Store. That said, even a small percentage of users migrating to a web shop could have a big impact on a studio's bottom line.
It's kind of like adding an extra lever to pull on, so that developers aren't solely dependent on one revenue channel. But I do wonder, Will this really challenge Apple's long-held monopoly over mobile monetization, or will it remain a niche workaround?
That's an interesting challenge. I think it could go either way. On one hand, the incremental shift towards these D2C channels forces Apple to share the pie, even if just a bit. On the other, the App Store is so ingrained in the mobile ecosystem that for now it remains the dominant channel. It's like, you're getting
Yeah,
a
I get
second
that.
wind, but still climbing the same mountain.
Right. And then there's the looming influence of regulatory bodies like the European Union, or even further, US interventions. It seems like this is only the beginning of a broader reckoning on platform power.
Absolutely. The Digital Markets Act in the EU and ongoing US scrutiny could further dilute the power of these walled gardens, opening up even more avenues for developers to innovate with their pricing and customer relationships.
Exactly, That makes the entire ecosystem more dynamic. You have this tension between the legacy systems of Apple and the new models that empower developers directly. It's a balancing act that could, in time, lead to a more equitable gaming economy.
Spot on. And for the players, it might mean more competitive prices and better deals. I mean, when you have developers in control of their customer pipelines, they can tailor their offers more creatively and even experiment with subscription models or exclusive bundles outside the rigid structures of in-app
Yeah,
purchases.
makes a lot of sense. But here's something I've been thinking about. Could this lead to an unintended consequence where the user experience suffers due to, additional steps in purchasing? I mean, moving from in-app buying to a web storefront might be a little clunky for some users.
That's definitely a valid critique. While the economic benefits for developers are clear, the friction in the purchasing process could hurt conversion rates. It's a trade-off developers will need to consider carefully.
Absolutely, yeah. So developers really need to strike a balance between optimizing profit margins and maintaining a seamless user journey. It sounds like there's a learning curve involved here.
Yeah, for sure. And let's not forget, even though Epic's victory opened these doors, it didn't dismantle the App Store entirely. Consumers still discover games there, and many casual gamers might never stray from the familiar in-app environment.
Yeah, that's true. It's a hybrid model emerging then, one where developers might cater to both the convenience of the App Store and the potential savings of a direct-to-consumer model. And that dual model could be a win-win if negotiated carefully.
Totally. It's like, having your cake and eating it too, but with a sprinkle of caution. The key is not to let the new methods undermine the established channels that still drive
Right,
a huge
exactly.
amount of traffic.
And looking forward, it'll be interesting to see how far developers push this model as more of them join the race to set up their own web shops. Will we see like a mass migration of players who prefer these direct deals over traditional in-app purchases?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Even if only a fraction of users adopt it, studios could reap significant rewards. It's not just about skipping the 30% cut. It's about owning a more direct relationship with their player base.
Yeah, exactly. What's cool is that some developers, especially mid-sized indie studios, are already testing the waters with Xsola's tools, and early results seem promising. But then again, global publishers might be slower to change their ingrained systems.
Yeah, and that's where we might see a divide in the market. Early adopters can quickly innovate and potentially disrupt revenue flows, while others might stick with the established ways until the system shows clear long-term benefits.
True. It sort of reminds me of the early days of e-commerce. A few pioneers took the risk and reaped huge rewards, paving the way for everyone else. But with mobile gaming, the stakes can be even higher, given the platform fees and the intensity of competition.
Exactly. And while the ruling doesn't dismantle Apple's control overnight, it does create a crack in the wall. Developers now have an opportunity, even if measured and incremental, to challenge the long-standing norms.
Yeah, for sure. In many ways, it's a balancing act between innovation and tradition, and the next few years could redefine what success looks like for mobile game studios. Though, Um, I do remain cautiously optimistic about how seamlessly consumers will adapt to these alternative purchasing methods.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this space so exciting. It's a dynamic evolution. Developers now have more tools to shape their businesses, and the players might just enjoy better pricing and more creative offerings. Ultimately, it's about rebalancing the scales in a system that's been tilted for too long.
Right, exactly. Well, it's certainly a compelling time for the industry. With legal battles shaking up the established order and technology providing new avenues for revenue, the mobile gaming economy is on the brink of a fascinating transformation.
Yeah, indeed. The Epic versus Apple ruling may not be the final chapter, but it's definitely a turning point, a chance for developers to reclaim their margin, engage more directly with their fans, and ultimately redefine mobile gaming economics.
Absolutely. Thanks for walking through these insights. It's been really enlightening to see how a legal battle can ripple through the industry and open up new potential for both developers and gamers alike.
Anytime, it's always great to explore how innovation finds a way even amid restrictions. Until next time, keep watching these changes, because who knows, they might be just the start of even bigger shifts in mobile gaming.